Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome. My name's Jesse Haugen. I sit here in this broom closet of a studio all day, just desperately trying not to rewrite John Williams melodies. And today, I'm going to show you how I won a film scoring competition. So I did something earlier this year that I never thought I would do, which is I mustered up the courage to participate in a film scoring competition. Now I do this for a living, but I'm still absolutely terrified at the idea of joining these. I never was able to do it before, but this one happened right around the time that quarantine happened, and so everything kind of shut down. A couple jobs fell through. I had some extra time, and I thought, hey, this would be a great opportunity, if for no other reason that it would just be a lot of fun. So I decided to participate in the Indie Film Music Contest. This was its first ever competition, and I thought it would be really fun to participate. They had some awesome prizes, so I decided to give it a go. I had a great experience, and I ended up winning, which is totally unexpected but really exciting. And I've gotten a lot of messages from you guys because they're actually doing another competition already again this year. So registration's open for that right now. It's open until November 7th. And then submissions are due by the 14th of November. So you have about a month, a little bit less, to get your submissions in. But the films they send are short, and you can definitely do it in that amount of time. So I thought it would be great for me to walk through my winning submission, help you understand the decisions that I made, the musical choices, the deliberation and the thought that went into my score. Hopefully just to give you some confidence to participate yourself. This video isn't sponsored by the Indie Film Music Contest, but I really do believe in what they're doing. And I've gotten a lot of messages from you guys asking what my experience was like, asking if I think that you should participate. The answer is absolutely yes. It's super streamlined, it's super straightforward, it's great for composers of all stages, whether you're just beginning or whether you do it for a living. It's just really fun, and the films they send, at least if the indication from the first year was anything, are amazing. It's the type of films that, even though I do this for a living, I don't always get to work on something like an animated film because it just takes so much to get those things made. And so it was such a valuable experience for me. And if for no other reason, I would suggest doing this competition just to work on some really excellent films. So what I thought I would do here is I'll just walk through my winning submission from that first year. I'll show you why I made the decisions that I made, how I went about scoring it, in hopes to sort of walk you through what the experience was like for me and give you some confidence to do it yourself. So let's jump into it. The way that I thought we would do this is let's watch through the film actually dry. So we're going to watch with no music, no anything. And when they sent this film, what I didn't expect was that it's actually completely devoid of all dialogue, all sound effects, everything. It is a completely silent film, so the music was really going to have to carry a lot of weight. And now that is both terrifying and exciting. If you've scored a silent film before, you know that you have more opportunity than usual to really write some music, to really dig in. But you also know that a lot of the responsibility of this film working and the pacing and the landing falls on the shoulders of the composer. And so for those two reasons, this was an excellent film to score and really, really a lot of fun. So we're just going to watch through without any of my music, and I'm just going to tell you when I watched through the things that popped out at me and the choices I made before I even wrote a note. So let's jump into it. So it opens up, we get the Indie Film Music Contest logo. These are not credits that were a part of the original film, obviously. And then right away, we're into the credits of the opening film. So it's some opening credits, and then boom, this beautiful shot of this little girl in the garden. Immediately, I mean, this is so musical already, this landscape. I'm hearing, piano and strings and winds. We get some conflict. She feels like an outsider. Then we have this really poignant shot of her walking up this winding road. And I knew already, musically, that was going to be a really important moment. So I'd made note of that in my head. Continued watching. See her, she's sad. And it was at this moment, when that chair comes to life and kicks her off, that I knew I was absolutely going to love this film. I'm sold, I'm in, I cannot wait to write some music. So this chair, even though it's just an inanimate chair, has a lot of personality, as we can see. And as I thought about scoring this, I was thinking, how can the music help give this inanimate object personality? We don't get facial expressions. All we get are the way that this chair interacts with the girl and the way that the chair moves, and it's just all of these things come together, and if the music can come together with it, we can actually give the chair some personality. And so I was hoping the music would do that. So let's keep watching. She's brave to sit down in that chair. Boom! They're off to the races. So I knew the first time that I watched this film that this moment right here that we're watching was going to be a huge moment. If you compare everything that's happened in the film so far, we've already gotten an arc. We have a conflict, and now we have a total change of mood and pace with this running down that same winding road that she walked up sad before. She's now being carried back down, and she's joyful. And so I knew that this moment really needed to land. This was the first moment in the film that I really wanted musically to accentuate. So let's keep watching. She goes, boom, plot twist, chair brings her to her friends. How's it gonna go? We don't know. And boom, look at that. Happy, happy. So already in the film, we have such a story that's been told. And now this takes us into this beautiful montage of her in the chair. Again, this is like musical gold right here. All of this stuff that's happening. And then this moment, I mean, just visually, her running on the chair with the horses. In the same way that scene with the chair taking her down the winding road, I knew was going to be a really important, really big moment. I also wanted this moment to be exactly like that. So I knew, so far, we have 2 hit points that I really want to land on musically. First, when the chair takes her down the road, and now when the chair runs her through the forest with these horses. So let's keep watching. Yeah, just so much music. Like you can already hear it already as you watch. More montage. It's paced so well. It's like musical even before there's music. The colors. Oh, the shot is beautiful. Uh-oh, chair breaks. But chair is okay. So again, I'm making note, every time the chair does these little things like the little waving of the legs, which is something that it does a lot, it's just a little way that the animators gave the chair personality. And so with the music, I don't want to discredit that. I actually want to lean into that. So I'm already starting to think when that chair does those little things, those little personality quirks, how can we actually play with that musically? So let's continue. Snow. She's getting older. She's got a bigger chair now. And I love that. This film is just so beautiful. If you look, the chair's going off to college with her. So we know that the story's not quite over yet. But again, it's just all this montage, this music it's just popping out already. Let's continue watching. So this is definitely a tonal shift. And if we watch this, the first thing that I noticed is the mood has changed drastically. And she feels kind of like she's the odd one out again. And that's continually shown to us through the interaction with these other students. And so where my mind went when I first watched this was, this parallels the beginning really significantly. If we remember back to the beginning of the film, she was looking off at a distance. She didn't feel like she was included with this group of friends. And then that led her up that winding road sad and alone. And now we have the same thing at this new school as she sit in her dorm. So I knew that in some way I wanted the beginning of the film and then this part of the film to parallel really significantly. I don't know if that means the exact same music, the same melodies. I wasn't sure yet, but I did know that I wanted those things. I wanted to, as the film takes us back to the beginning and where she was, I wanted the music to do the same thing. So I knew that that's what I wanted to do. Let's keep going. But we know the chair is going to save the day. Okay, so chair picks her up. Boom, we're off to the races. And now in the same way that those first 2 things hit me, this was another moment I knew this one needed to land. And this even actually visually takes us back to the horses. So not only are we picking up thematically that this is what's happening. So in the beginning, she's sad. The chair takes her down, races her back to her friends. In the middle, we have this other shot of her racing through the horses. And now here at the end, we have this amazing sequence of the chair racing her through the city. So those 3 moments, I knew the first time I watched this film, if those don't deliver musically, the whole score is just not going to work. It's all about how do we build up to and land on each of those moments. So let's keep watching. The other thing I noticed is that this one was by far the biggest. It's the longest. So every one of these moments gets longer every time, if you've noticed. And they also get a little more dramatic, as this chair is sort of like a superhero racing through the city, helping her get back to her friends. So again, such a parallel to the beginning of the film. Boom, she drops down embarrassed, just like she did with the jump rope. They see her. Are they laughing at her? No, they're laughing with her. Boom, chair breaks again. Another callback. And that's the film. So, I mean, as you can tell, if you hadn't seen the film already, it's just the second you watch it, you just feel music. It just speaks so clearly. It begs for melodies and for textures. And so I was inspired already, but I didn't want to forget about those structural things. So as I went back to score, I played with a lot of different melodies. I played with a lot of different ideas, and I played with a lot of different instrumentation. I knew probably, given that it's a competition, and this is the same way I think about demos when I'm demoing for a project against other composers. It's easy to fall into the trap of doing the same thing that everyone else is going to do. And so I kind of always want to do something different. And I knew that at this time, everyone's going to do soft piano, everyone's going to do strings, everyone's going to do woodwinds. That's just sort of what you expect in a film like this. And so I tried a bunch of other things, and it just wasn't landing. And it was because my musical instincts were telling me to do those things. And this is something that I hope is helpful for you guys. What I've found over the years is that while it is important at times to do something unique, if you're just doing something unique for the sake of doing something unique, not because your musical instincts are telling you that that's what this film or this scene needs, it's gonna fall a little bit flat. If instead you follow your musical instincts, because we all have different backgrounds, we all have different things that make our musical voice ours, even if you feel like you just need to write straight ahead 1920s jazz, do that, because that's your musical instinct leading you somewhere. And if you follow that musical instinct, more likely than not, you're going to write music that's more compelling, that's more emotive, that's more empathetic to what's going on in the film and the scene. So don't always do something different just for the sake of doing something different. I would say more often than not, try to follow your musical instinct. And my musical instinct in this case told me just stick to that piano, strings, winds, that thing that everyone is going to do. It doesn't matter. Just write the best possible music that you can given that. I also knew that I wanted it to get a little bit bigger, so I didn't want it to be like this small kind of indie orchestra. I did actually want it at some point, especially by the end, to kind of get full orchestra. So I basically approached this like a pretty straight ahead orchestral score with some piano. So I was thinking about music, I was thinking about melody, and what I came up with was this simple little 4-note motif. And we start out with some sustained, swelly strings, and here's our motif. So that's it, just ba-da-da-da. It's ambiguous enough that it doesn't say too much right off the bat, but it's also emotive enough that we can take it somewhere and do something with it. So let's keep watching. And again, here's this big moment. So a little bit more of a melody here. So again, already as I'm scoring, I'm thinking back to those plans I had. I wanted that moment up the winding road to feel significant. I didn't want it to be big, but I wanted it to be emotionally significant. So let's keep watching. Okay, how do we give that chair personality, right? So all these little movements, all these little things that we just watched the chair on our first watch through, we knew that there was personality because of these small movements. Let's lean into that musically. Let's help bring that to life. Let's bring that chair to life. Let's keep watching. So now we're coming up on this first hit point. Remember that I really wanted to hit. We get some motor rhythm. Things are moving. Things are picking up. Boom. We land. So it's really short, it's really simple, but it's by far the biggest part of the score up to this point. So we have that simple just da 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 melody, just 4 notes, really big, played in cellos, flutes, and French horns. It's the biggest thing up to this point. But I didn't want it to be too big because I knew we have 2 more of these coming. So every one of them needs to feel the most significant thing that's happened, but they all need to be relevant to each other. So the second one needs to feel bigger than the first, and the last one needs to feel bigger than both of them. So you want each moment to feel as if it's the most significant, but then you want each significant moment to feel more significant than the last. So it's all about pacing and being patient musically. So let's keep watching. Now when we get here to the montage, instead of just the 4-note motif, I thought this would be the place we actually develop it a bit. So we start getting more of a melody, it develops, it grows. And then here's our next hit point. Okay, so that is much bigger than the last one, and we'll go back and compare each of them at the end. But if you can tell, it's longer, it's more lush orchestration-wise. There's a lot more going on, it's a lot thicker, the harmony is richer. We have more going on melodically. In the beginning, we just had those 4 notes. Now we have more of that developed theme. So this is all, how are we landing on each of these points? Let's keep watching. Now I treated this a little different. I came back down, and the reason I came back down here is that moment before is going to feel bigger based on what happens around it. So if I had gotten big on the horses and then just kept it big going into the montage, that moment wouldn't feel as significant. But if instead we build up to that moment with the horses and then we drop back down again, now that's like a peak in that score. It's going to help it stand out a little bit. So that's another little trick. Wanted this to feel a little uncertain, but then let's give that chair personality again, right? I also put sleigh bells here because I'm basic and there's snow. Okay, so now we're off to this part that parallels the beginning. So if you remember the beginning, we have these swelly strings, and then we have our 4-note motif played really simply. So this is exactly the same musical content as the beginning, just orchestrated a little differently. And then we have this other really poignant moment, if you remember. She walks up the road, she's sad. We haven't heard that melody again. So let's bring that back now as she sits alone in her dorm, but bigger. So again, richer orchestration, a lot thicker, a lot more intricate. Just, we're saying the same melody we said before, and we haven't heard that melody yet since we heard it the first time. So this should take us back to her walking up that winding road. It should also help us remember, but something happened after that. So let's see what happens after that. So here we go, we're heading into that third big moment. And I did this accelerando, which I really loved. It was a little bit cheesy, but if you watch the animation, this chair is like spinning out on the cobblestone, just trying to get up to speed. And so I really wanted the music to feel that way. I didn't want the score to be Mickey Mousey, but I did want it to be specific. I did want it to follow what's going on. So watch that again. Let's go, let's go, let's go! Off to the races. I didn't want it to land here, I wanted it to grow here. And boom, we're back with the horses. Again, you know, this little like as she flies through the air. It's like, how do you give personality? Because this is serious, but it's lighthearted, it's fun. So we're building. Again, this is all part of those structural points that I'm talking about. First one's short, second one's longer, third one, this one's much bigger. So let's take our time with it. Let's stretch it out. Let's grow it. And then also, I mentioned this on the first watch through, this chair kind of feels like a superhero in this moment. So I got a little superhero-y with it. We have way thicker orchestration. Full brass now. Okay, so that is so obviously so much bigger than any of the points that we've had up to this point, right? We haven't had a hit point that has landed quite that severely. And so that really helps it feel like the story has gone somewhere. The music has moved with the story. It's grown as she's matured, it's matured. The orchestration is much thicker. The melodies are much more sophisticated. There's just a lot more going on. But let's end it simple. So let's kind of take us back to our opening motif. She's a little embarrassed. And again, let's just think, how do we give the chair personality? End on kind of a humor note. So that's basically the idea. So I'm not necessarily saying that this is the way to go about scoring something if you want to win a film scoring competition. That title is a little bit clickbaity, but the point is this is something to think about when you're scoring anything. When you're scoring anything and you first watch through, before you write a note, think about where everything is headed. If you have direction and you have purpose, your music is going to feel like it has momentum. It's going to feel purposeful and deliberate. This film, this animation is so deliberate. That's one of the reasons I love animation, is because it's so hard and frankly so expensive to make any part of a film like this. It really requires them to be incredibly deliberate with every scene and every moment. So if you can musically try to do that as well, it's really going to come alongside this well. So let's look at each of these 3 hit points in a little bit more depth. I'll just show you sort of how I orchestrated it, how I thought about it, and hopefully that'll help you think about how to approach scoring structure like this. Okay, so we have this first one. It's mostly melodic instruments. We have some motor rhythms and stuff going on. So in the piano, in the harp, and in some staccato strings, we have this. So this is kind of the momentum, the chair moving through. And then we have in the melodies with violas and cellos, so really low, totally unison, strong. And then in oboe and our flutes, we have this 4-note motif. We have it in the French horns as well, and then if you just fill that out harmonically a little bit. The brass. So it's really simple. There's basically 3 elements. There's chords, there's that staccato rhythm, and then there's melody. Now, when we get to the next one, we introduce percussion. So we have some swells. There's a lot more going on in the percussion. If you listen to this, it's really lush. This is just the percussion for this section. You know, all of this. Again, we have brass, strings, horns, all filling this out. Now, the other thing here that we have that we didn't have before is a counter melody. So if you listen, the horns, let me take the horns out. So this is just the melody. Da, 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 which is cool by itself, but let's add one more layer, which is our 4-note motif if you're listening. So it's just some counterpoint, some more interest. And now when we get to the final one, not only is it the thickest orchestrationally, but we've also just added every possible melodic development and idea. Lots of staccato winds. Harmony is a lot different. We have this in the brass. Really thick. You know, we've had nothing this thick yet. Again, swells. Yeah, so I don't know if that's helpful. Hopefully that's helpful. It's a lot of straightforward ideas. It's nothing complicated. I'm sure it's things that you guys have all thought about before, but it's just a good reminder for all of us. When we sit down to score something, whether it's for a competition or it's for a demo or a project that you've been hired for, whatever it is, to look through the whole either scene or the whole film even. This is another great thing to do if you're scoring a feature. Think about where are the moments in the film that the music needs to deliver, because the audience is expecting certain things to pay off. And if you deliver on that, it's really going to help the film land emotionally. And ultimately, that's what we're trying to do with this music. We're not just trying to write cool music. We're trying to write music that serves the story, serves the film, that lands at the right times, that takes us places that the filmmakers want us to go. So I hope that's helpful. Again, I would really encourage you to apply to the Indie Film Music Contest or just any of these awesome competitions that a lot of people are starting to do. It's a great opportunity to score films that you otherwise might not be able to get your hands on. It's just a great way to stretch your writing and to challenge yourself. And so that's why I would recommend it. I hope this was helpful. It's a lot of fun for me to go back over this and watch through it. I genuinely do love the film. I think that was the biggest takeaway from this competition for me, was just how much of a joy it was to work on this film. So if that was helpful, or if you think I missed some things that I should have mentioned, please just let me know in the comments below. I'm hoping to make more videos like this to share some of the stuff that I have worked on, that I am working on, and that I'm going to be working on with you. It's been really exciting for me to sort of start being a little more open with what I'm doing and share more stuff like this on YouTube. So if you want to see stuff like that, please subscribe, ring the bell so you'll be notified when I put a video up. If you want to watch this film in its entirety for my winning submission, that's also on my channel. That'll be linked below, so you can check that out. And I hope to see you guys soon. All right, thanks so much. Again, you know, this little like